After Hours podcast, recording live from Sydney, Australia. We are welcoming you today officially the new year according to the lunar calendar. This year is the year of fire horse and Sinian Kuala, that's how we say that in Mandarin. Happy Chinese New Year, happy Lunar New Year. Some people say happy Asian New Year, which, I don't mind being a Indonesian, Chinese, Australian. I get to celebrate two New Years. So if you happen to celebrate another New Year, more power to you, because every New Year, I do believe that it is a new beginning. Not because we write off the year before, it's just that it is something that is motivating and encouraging. What do you think, Stephen?
I like cycles. So a cycle, and if you can pin that cycle in some place, I think that's a good thing. Some of us pin our cycle around our birthdays.
Yes,
I'm maybe less of a birthday person, although I like the presents.
I love birthday.
More of a New Year person.
Stephen's birthday is coming up. I'm not gonna tell you when, but the reason why I brought it up is because now that we're friends, I always develop a little bit of anxiety around my new friend's birthday because I don't want to forget it.
Mm.
And now that I'm saying this, I bet you I will forget it. But birthday is very important to me. I have broken up with friends over them forgetting my birthday.
Oh, no.
I mean, you have Facebook, right? People have Facebook, and I think that it is something that is so easy to just, look at the reminder, say happy birthday. You can just say, HBD, happy birthday, and I will take it. I mean, technology should foster this relationship and connection, and we talked about it last week.
Vincent, I've got an admission for you.
Tell me.
So my birthday on Facebook is not my real birthday.
Oh, okay. Luckily, we're not friends on Facebook, but I did put your birthday on my calendar, and hopefully, I actually get to remember and wish you happy birthday on the day.
And when I signed up for Facebook, which was quite some time ago, I was kind of wondering, why do they actually need my birthday? They need to know that I'm over 18, I guess. We've got some laws in Australia.
Or 16 now.
Or 16 now, that's right. But why do they need to know that I could be 21?
Well,
21?
they're data mining. See how I pivot? I'm a really good podcaster now. I can pivot through landmines of questions. But today, speaking of pivoting, I don't like that word pivot because use the word change instead of pivoting.
Mm.
The reason why is because when you pivot, you move from one thing to another and you lose direction of where you're going. Change is a much better word.
Yeah.
And the reason why I brought this up is because one thing that seems to always change constantly every year is the trend for wellness and health. And we spoke about it on our very first podcast together, but I kind of want to go deep dive into discussing the trend of wellness and health from a little bit of a different viewpoint, because we've spoken about ultra processed foods, we've spoken about AI, all of these things, they are supposedly making us healthier.
Yeah.
The same thing with health trends. However,
all these new diets and weird things that get disproven later even.
Exactly. I mean, if you remember maybe 10 or 15 years ago, people say that stop eating meat, more plant-based, stop drinking dairy, move to nut milk, and then now going back to milk. I mean, this is the reason why a lot of people say that the wellness industry is very fickle. What do you think about that?
I think that there are a lot of people in the wellness industry and generally in the food provision industries that, and honestly, they've got a product. I mean, I really love lamb, and the lamb ads that I see on TV are awesome. But you probably shouldn't eat lamb every day.
This is very interesting, because one of the things that I love about doing this with you, Stephen, is that we're still finding out things about each other. You didn't know that in 2016, no, seriously, 2016 to 2018, I'm Australian lamb official ambassador.
There you go.
So the fact that you said that we shouldn't eat lamb every day, I'm no longer the ambassador, but I still do believe that when prepared correctly,
Yep.
lamb is very nutritious.
And I absolutely agree with you and believe you. And lamb, though, is just one part of the diet.
That is correct. So I think what you are. Let me let me
I don't
let me
feel like I'm going to be lamb ambassador next year. Let's just say that.
let me re-say. Let me repeat this. Let me think about it. So what you are saying is when people shouldn't eat lamb every day, would you say the same thing that people shouldn't eat chicken every day or eat beef every day?
Look, I think that meat intake, and there's a lot of science around this. There are people who live entirely on a carnivore diet. And I think that what we've been talking about over the last few episodes around balance
Yes,
applies to meat as well.
that's correct.
So I
I
think
agree with that.
that having a good mix of foods is important. I believe that having a good mix of proteins is super important. Uh, but I also really like diversity.
Yes,
I wouldn't recommend that you just eat cabbage every day either. We discussed that in a previous episode.
that's correct. And I
I
think
really love beetroot, but you wouldn't eat beetroot every day necessarily either. It needs to be a mix.
yes, and I think before you all come at us when it comes to carnivore diet, that our ancestor throughout evolution they only ate meat or stuff like that. Yes, but they only live until 25 and 30 if they're lucky. So uh balance is something that is such a boring word. It's unsexy, it's not marketable. However, at the end of the day, balance is something that your body needs. A little too much of a good thing or a little too few of good things, both extremes are not good for you. We spoke about B6 last week. B6 is essential for our body, but if you take it too much, toxicity, nervous damage. And the reason why I asked you about the trend, which you explained really well when it comes to people have product to sell.
Mm.
So, like many things, if not all things in our life and in this world, financial motivation is a huge factor whenever it comes to anything.
Yeah.
You gave me a note that the global wellness economy is now worth 6.8 trillion.
It's astounding. It's numbers that we can't really even understand.
So there is a lot of money at stake when it comes to selling something. And human being, we like something that is new, something that is fresh, something that is controversial. I mean, I remember probably 8 years ago when they started marketing the enzyme from snails basically to put on your face. And then now it's the salmon sperm DNA or something like that. So the crazier it sounds, the more attention it grabs, and the more attention it grabs, the more eyeballs on your ad, the more money that you can make.
Yeah, it's we don't really want to go into the rabbit hole of how marketing is maybe
That's another episode.
doing too much of a job in the one direction. Definitely another episode. Uh, but I think as human beings, we listen for those things that are slightly new. We like something that we haven't heard of before. I think that maybe some of our listeners listen to our podcast because you and I come up with some stuff that is, really off the wall and a bit strange that people haven't heard before. But that's what we want to do. We want to keep the curiosity up there. But as we were saying a couple of weeks ago, we also want you to test. If we tell you something, we want you to take that on, do some of your own research as well. And so I think when you apply that lens to any of the food industry, the ads that we see on TV or the brochures that we get in the mail or the things that are advertised in our local supermarket, you should question. You should, it's not about having a fight. It's just about understanding.
Yes, and I think we are now we're now living in a world where information is not limited, it's not scarce. Information is actually so available to the point where we have to question the type of information, the truth and factual aspect of the information, even when it comes from government bodies. I'll give you an
Yep.
example. recently in Australia, the health star rating system has been made mandatory and compulsory for food manufacturers to put on their labels.
Right.
Or on their packaging. The problem with that is that as it currently stands, dairy, which is fresh milk, whole milk, score lower in this 1 to 5 health star rating compared to flavored ultra processed liquid beverage.
Wow. That's not even milk.
Which is not even milk. And the reason why is because once you give this set of rules and algorithm to the food manufacturers, they know how to manipulate it. So instead of being penalized by the amount of sugar in that in the product proportionally to the weight, they will add isolated protein, they will add isolated fiber to sort of kind of buff up that positive score to the point where they can score 5-star. But at the same time, the healthiest food, say for example, an apple, a fresh apple, doesn't have any stars. So I was speaking with a journalist from the ABC radio here in Australia, and my question to her and to everybody was actually that when a government body is making these kind of things official, compulsory, I am worried that it sends a wrong message to people, to parents, that packaged food is actually healthy. Packaged food is actually, if you, as long as you buy something that is 3.5-star or 4-star or 5-star, then you're doing the right thing by yourself and by your family. But the issue is that we know research have shown us that the problem with our food and food industry now is no longer that it's unsafe. Obviously, everybody wants their food to be safe, and I think modern technology has ensured that it is not contaminated. It doesn't have the microbial count that can make us sick. And number two, yes, food should be nutritious, but with the technology, you can add back these isolated synthetic nutrients into the food. The third thing that is missing is that food should be nourishing. So when 50% of our calorie intake is originating from ultra processed food, I think that's the issue. I think that's the risk in terms of obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and even developing certain types of cancers.
So, Vincent, should we be using the labeling as a guide? Should we be completely ignoring it? How should we use this this thing that the government is obviously trying to help?
Yes, and I am not writing it off completely, because I know that I'm very lucky and fortunate that I can scan a nutritional panel within 3 seconds. I can tell you whether or not that's healthy. I can tell you whether or not this is synthetic or natural or processed or ultra processed. However, not everybody have the ability to do that. And be care or have the time.
It's and the time. I see it all the time in when I go to the shopping center. You've got the mum who is doing the shopping for the family. You've got 3 kids who are buying stuff that they think is cool because it's in bright packaging. It's really hard to stop and have a look at what's in whatever it is that you're buying. And I think that having some sort of rating is intended to help.
That's correct. And that's the reason why I think it is well intended, and I think that it shouldn't be scrapped completely. However, just adding color coded rating or color coded system works really well. Let me give you an example. So if you have the traffic light, green for natural or fresh, yellow for minimally processed, and then red for ultra processed. So the star rating can remain the same, but they should be presented in different types of colors, be it green, yellow, or red. So you can have an avocado, for example, that should be green because it's fresh and natural. But because of the fat content, could potentially be 3.5 or 4-star rating. And you can have a breakfast cereal that is fortified with synthetic vitamins and synthetic fiber, added isolated protein, that could reach that 5-star rating in terms of the health rating.
Cardboard's 100% fiber.
I know, but in red. So I think that helps that helps a lot when it comes to a parent who wants to make a decision very quickly, or someone who is on 20 minutes lunch break that needs to just grab something.
Yeah.
Because I always say this, and I firmly believe this, Stephen, that when people know better, they tend to make better choices.
Yeah. But it sounds to me, though, Vincent, that what would be better in your view is not just not just a star rating, but to be able to break out from those ingredients the things that are good and bad for you. So how much sodium does it have? How
Yes.
much sugar does it have?
And the types of processing that this product has gone through.
So maybe it's more than just 5 stars. Maybe it's 5 stars with your traffic light.
Yes.
That illustrates if you're, or even if you're diabetic, this is not for you.
Yes. And I think that I probably sound a little bit too passionate when it comes to this, but as a parent, I do think that ultra processed food is something that people don't think about because you don't see the negative impacts and effects until maybe 20 years later.
Yeah.
The reason why I think that I keep ringing the alarm bell when it comes to ultra processed food is that 20 years ago, doctors advertised smoking. And it's not until later on.
It's a positive, yeah.
Or asbestos, for example. This is our generation's asbestos.
Wonder material.
Yes. And I still remember when my dad was like, we need to add more asbestos to the building. Anyway, I get a little bit distracted when it comes to ultra processed food and this health star rating, but it just made the breaking news. I want to touch on the aging or anti-aging because everybody did, including myself, we don't only want to live longer, healthier, and happier.
Yeah.
Part of that being happy space is also looking ageless, looking good.
Keeping your options open and available to you. And I 100% agree with you. My parents, for example, are getting out and seeing the world, and they're over 80. And it's amazing that they're able to do that. I hope
Both the Europe and Japan. I love the story about the Europe cruise.
Lots of Europe, lots of Japan. At the moment, a fair bit of cruising, which is great. And I really understand the being able to unpack once and then you're on a cruise for 15 days or something. But I was talking to my mother only on the weekend and she was saying there's so much walking involved. And I said to her, "Oh, what do you mean walking? Is it just like around the boat?" And she said, No. They get off the boat whenever they can."
Yes.
And that is, it's so amazing. And I'm so envious almost that when I'm 80, I'm hoping that I can be still traveling the world and still walking the hills of Athens and going down little streets in the back of whatever European country they're visiting next.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I feel that the reason why people want to live longer, healthier, happier, and looking like they are younger than the age is because we all work really hard. Hopefully, we all do work really hard in our younger years. And as a business owner, I know that I'm time poor. I can't just jet set around the world and take 3 weeks off being on a reefer cruise, right? The Viking cruise. That's the one that you want to go on.
You're mentioning companies without the sponsorship again.
Again, hello at askdrvincent.com, Viking tour. If you want, our listeners are literally in your demographic. So get in touch. But what I was trying to say, Stephen, is that we've worked really hard. And unfortunately, a lot of people in their older age, they have the money, they have the time, but they don't have the health to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think now our generation have seen the generations before us having that trade-off. They have the time, they have the financial means, but they don't have the physicality in terms of their health to do that. So this is the reason. I think this is one of the main reasons why we are chasing that wellness. We are chasing that health trend.
Yep.
Anything that can make us feel better, move without pain, feel more energized, sleep better, for example.
Yep, absolutely. We jump on. Absolutely.
Yeah. But the main issues that I have with that, there are two. The first one is that people are expecting the silver bullet, the one thing that will make me, you know, so healthy that I don't have to look after myself.
Yeah.
That's the issue, because you can't undo, and I'm saying this as a scientist, but also as a brand owner. We have the world's most potent dietary antioxidants. We have the best skincare according to me. But even I will say that my products cannot undo the damages that you cause your body. I don't know, like within like the last 20 years. It takes time, but
Mm.
at the same time, it also takes lifestyle changes.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think a lot of that's around planning rather than, how much how much do our listeners need to focus on, like, planning out their week? Is that something that they should be doing?
Yeah, but I also do believe that, because I speak to a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people when it comes to the choices that they make, when it comes to their what they eat,
Mm,
whether or not they exercise, or what they put into their shopping basket, or whether or not they go for I don't know, a 10,000 steps goal
yeah,
every day, or just stay at home. A lot of them always say that, and my mother is one of these people. If only I did that 10 years ago. If only I did that
mm,
even 5 years ago. This is the reason why, as much as I love planning, I also really, really wish that people take this to heart, that it really doesn't matter when you start it. When
yeah,
you think about it, now is the right time.
mm,
Sure, it might have been better if you started it 10 years ago or 20 years ago,
yeah.
but let me tell you, I guarantee you, it is still better than not
They're
starting
not
it
doing
right
anything.
now.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're not advocating for people to suddenly change everything that they do and completely change their diet and start
Unless,
some new 12-step approach. There's always 12 steps, apparently.
yeah, usually, except for our skincare, only 3 steps. Um, the you don't want, believe you me, you don't want to be put in a position where you have to, or you are being forced to make dramatic changes
Mm,
in your health. Because usually this happens to people who just got diagnosed with cancers,
yeah.
or
The wake-up call.
it's a wake up
Yeah.
call. It's like rock bottom when it comes to health. And I'm not saying that it's anyone's fault if they're being diagnosed with cancer. What I'm trying to say is that Oprah said something that is really, really poignant to me. Not to me, for me. Oprah didn't say this for me. But once upon a time, I can't remember whether it's on her show or when she was being interviewed. She said that God never just drops a brick onto your head. Usually, it's sprinkle of sand first, a little bit of pebbles
Mm,
before the big boulder or the big brick, right?
yeah.
If you notice it when it was a sprinkling of sand,
Mm,
or when it's small little rocks and pebbles, the brick will not come, because you will look up and probably take another path,
yeah.
probably
Yeah.
avoid the construction area.
Mm,
And I'm not saying that it is always the case, but I take something from that. The lesson that I took from that saying was that we need to listen to our body when it comes to our health.
yeah.
Just because it doesn't kill us today or tomorrow doesn't mean that it's bad for us.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our brain, and I challenge you to think about this, Stephen. Do you think that human brains are designed to put off the alarm bell, in terms of, because if we think about all of the risks, if we
Mm.
think about all of the negativity, we I mean, we will be anxious all the time.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. I think that if the alarm bells are going off all the time and you're not doing anything about it, that will almost certainly, in my opinion, lead to huge anxiety. Uh, I came across a really interesting conversation. I think it was on the ABC, potentially, who don't advertise, so I can talk about them. Um, the came across this conversation, and it was about how some people have this constant voice that's going. It's a constant discussion. Only they can hear it. And these people aren't broken. They're not. There's nothing wrong with people who have that. Sometimes it can lead to a little bit more anxiety because you've got a constant voice, and sometimes the voice says bad things, sometimes it says good things. Some people have it and don't really even realize that some people don't. So I'm one of those people who I don't have a constant voice talking to me in the background. It's just not. It's not me. When I get anxious and when I get frustrated about something, then I will have an internal dialogue. Everybody does. It's one of the ways that the brain processes information. In fact, I will even sit down often with a cat. Cats are really great at helping you consider things, particularly when they're on your lap because you can't move, and force you to think through things. But I think, coming back to your question, I think that there are a lot of people who there are signals that they're getting, they're just not acting on them. And sometimes it's such a tiny thing that they could be acting on. And when they constantly don't act on all of these things that the body is trying to tell them, I think that leads to poor health overall.
So basically, you're saying that if you're ignoring a leak and you're keep putting it off, one day the roof might collapse.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
Or you'll get to a point where you have to take some specific thing. So you have to go on medication, or you have to do significantly more exercise. You have to change things. Earlier in the episode, we were talking about keeping options open, and this is really what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I think maintaining things to a point that they don't get out of control, to keep your options open so you can still do the global trips. And I strongly recommend hiking around Tasmania, for example.
I love Tasmania.
Yeah.
I really love Tasmania. Tasmania, people who are listening, tuning in from Australia know where Tasmania is, but you know how Australia is at the bottom end of the world, right?
There was a very famous prime minister who said something slightly different. But yes,
Yes.
that's what I
I'm
meant.
trying to keep it clean, so that YouTube doesn't penalize us. And Tasmania is at the bottom end of Australia, and because it's a different island, I always say that going to Tasmania from Australian mainland is going overseas. It's an overseas trip.
Yeah.
Literally. You have to cross the sea.
You do. You have to fly there or take a boat that takes forever.
What is the name of the ferry again?
I don't know.
Spirit of Tasmania.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
It's the Spirit.
The Spirit of Tasmania. That's the Spirit. But what you just said just now made me want to ask another question. So I know if I'm wearing my thinking cap on as a scientist or as a nutritionist, I know how to answer this question. But I would really like to see your perspective from the technology point of view and from the corporate world point of view. So we're talking about people who might have the tendency to ignore little leaks, and then it can actually lead to the roof collapsing when it comes to their health. But on the other end of the spectrum, you also have people who are hypochondriac, people who, I don't know, Google what my symptoms is coughing, and then reading and say to their husband or their wife, I have lung cancer.
Yeah. It's very easy for us to choose the worst thing.
Coming from someone who runs global teams, and I use plural because you work across multiple different disciplines and bring a lot together around different teams. How do you describe this kind of people? Because it probably will translate to their professional self kind of behavior or approach to things at work.
That's a really interesting question, and something I haven't maybe thought about in those terms before. However, what I would say is that people who are anxious tend to bring that anxiety to their job role as well. Let me answer this in quite a roundabout way. So
Yes.
You have to be a little bit patient with me.
Follow the jumping ball.
Yeah, follow the jumping ball. So when I have a new employee, And typically my employees are technical people, typically engineers as well. But I really like to introduce them to the technology, introduce them to the company, get them culturally settled, so they know who their colleagues are and who to reach out to. But there's a point, and it's different for everybody. But there is a point where I will make the decision that I need to see how far I can push them. And so I might give them a project which is slightly outside their skill set. Or maybe I don't know what their skill set is, and so I'll give them a project which means that they need to move between lots of different small tasks.
It's an assessment.
It's kind of like
Diagnostic.
an assessment. It's a diagnostic. Assessment's the wrong word.
There you go. I use your engineering term, diagnostic. Yes.
Nobody gets fired because of this.
Okay.
So it really is a way for me to see how they work and how far I can push them. Now, some people can be pushed a long way, and you never know until they break and they snap. And as a leader, you don't ever want that to happen. So you need to be quite careful. You need to check in. But the thing that I've learned over time, particularly dealing with different types of teams from different cultures, is that here in Australia, I could hire an engineer and I could push them and I could give them that project and they could get very frustrated. And in most cases, they will put their hand up and say, I need help. Now, not in every case, but in many cases, hopefully I've created an environment where they can do that and they feel comfortable doing that, asking for help, saying that they're at their limit. In other cultures, that just simply doesn't happen. So in the Japanese, in my experience, Japanese engineers are more likely to get frustrated, ask some of their other colleagues for help, never tell their manager because that's seen as a bit of a weakness.
They go
wide. That's right, rather than up. And that's not a bad thing. But as a leader, I need to see when that happens.
You can't fix what you don't know. Not that they're broken, but you can't address the situation if you don't know about
I don't know what it is. Yeah. Now, considering that, and I said a little bit of a roundabout way, so I'll bring it back to your question. For those individuals, if they are highly anxious and if they have, if there are things that are impacting them health-wise that they're not telling me about or that they're not surfacing so I can make accommodations, then they hit that limit much faster. Absolutely guaranteed they will hit that limit faster. And so in answer to your question, to people who have these things that they don't act on, does that show up in corporate life? It absolutely does.
So the reason, thank you so much. That actually provided a context to the reason why I asked you that question. My question is that, do you think we live in a world where being tired, being stressed, or being resilient when it comes to not acknowledging when you are sick is seen as a badge of honor, is seen as that you're committed and devoted to the company or to your own company, to your own cause, to your own hustle? The reason why I ask that is because we're talking about wellness trend, right?
Yeah.
People in the past, they, close up their shops at 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. They go for a siesta. They went for a siesta. Uh, uh, Parents took times before they go back to work because they want to bond with that formative years of their kids. But now you have 6 weeks. I mean, we're so lucky that here in Australia you have parental leave, but in some countries you don't. So the reason why I asked you that question is that how do we advocate for our own wellness and health and well-being in the world where you're expected to show up every day, to show up with that level of enthusiasm, with that level of energy, regardless of what's happening in your personal life?
Yeah. I think, Vincent, that there is a change underway. And I think that work from home and work in the office and a more of a hybrid style work program is.
Well, Elon Musk say that if you don't go back to the office, you're fired. Lucky we don't work for him.
Well, lucky we don't work for him. I think that there's a lot of value, huge value actually. I don't want to understate this. There's a huge value being in the office. engaging with your team members. You learn more. You build culture. Culture is super important for a company's success. There are lots of good reasons to be in the office. But I will also say that there are some company cultures that I think are a little bit extreme. I was speaking to a company only 3 or 4 months ago who were looking for somebody, a leader like me. And when I was engaged in this discussion, and they said, "Oh, and of course, it's a 6-day working week." And I said, "Well, I'm not interested in that. I know that I need my weekend. We all need our sleep. We can't be on 24/7." I think, as you were saying in the beginning of our careers, we do go a bit more above and beyond. But I think that over time,
You earn your bone.
yeah,
Is that the saying?
you, I think you learn what works for you,
Yeah.
and you need to listen to that. Back to our listening to your own body.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to work a 6-day week, and not be forced to work on a Saturday. That's just not what I'm going to do. Um, and that's for me. And
But at the same time, you make. I mean, the reason why I want to say this, and I hope I can, is because I don't want you all listening to this. What Stephen just said, that he's rigid and he's not, is uncompromising, because I know that you compromise a lot too when it comes to traveling, when it comes to working across 12 time zones.
Well, see, and this is the thing. I know that if I sign up for a 6-day week, I'm going to be working 24/7.
Yes.
Because I'm the kind of person who does throw themselves into
Yeah.
into the role and do everything I can to support. But it's that structure and that assumption that I think we've got to be careful of. And there are many of our listeners, I'm sure, particularly the younger ones, who feel like they don't have a choice. So my advice is to have a discussion. If you're in an organization and you feel that you're being pushed too hard and it's not an even split of your home life and your work-life balance, then talk to some of the other employees. Uh, if you have an opportunity to reach out to human resources, have a conversation with human resources. One of the things that is really disappointing in a lot of organizations, they spend quite a huge amount of money building an HR organization, human resources organization. And there are all these tools and all these programs and employee assistance programs and a whole lot of things that, quite frankly, I think Australians are a little bit embarrassed to reach out and use. And those resources are there.
It's
But
probably because, and I'm talking from a perspective of uh younger cohort when it comes to workforce, right? Probably not the youngest, but I feel that millennials, especially the older millennials, I'm the younger millennials, but the older millennials, this generation is probably sandwiched in between people who have earned their bone and their position at work that made them feel that they can say something when it doesn't suit them.
they've built that confidence.
They've built that confidence. And the generation who are just so outspoken, the Generation Z and Generation Alpha, who just said that, nope, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So millennials, this generation is being sandwiched in between the two generations that really advocate for themselves. And I know for a fact that a few of my friends always told me that HR is not on your side.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'm sure that all of the HR professionals who are listening, and hopefully there are some, would have issue with that.
okay.
But the way to think about HR in most organizations, so this mass generalization for you here, Vincent, but HR are employees of the company and their job is to protect the company.
Yes.
And the reason that I wanted to bring that up is that if one of our wonderful millennial listeners is very frustrated, is not enjoying what they're doing, it doesn't feel like there are any opportunities to them, and they don't want to go to HR because they think that HR is just going to fire them. HR is there to protect the business.
Okay.
Now, you just resigning and leaving and going somewhere else, that actually has a negative impact on the business. And we don't often think about that because we're very, very focused. Once we get to that point of just resigning, just leaving, it's all about us, and our support system is all about us. I'm not saying that we should feel sorry for companies who put people in a position that just leave, but there is a point. It's like the sand falling. So at some point that things are going not the right direction.
Okay.
And so start talking to other employees, start talking to the people that you're working with. Go into the office a couple of days a week, learn the culture. And then if it gets to the point where you are more concerned, you should be reaching out to HR. But you need to have a conversation that starts with, I really love this company, or I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. Start with positives and say, but if there was one thing I could change, it would be, and make it a small change.
Oh, that's actually really what's the word? A very smart way of doing that, because you don't want to sound all negative, but at the same time you don't want to sound so positive to the point where they said, okay, well, you're happy with everything then.
Yeah, exactly. And you're giving that HR person an ability to either say, we're not going to do that, which will clarify what you're thinking. Or they might say, oh, that's really interesting. And there are these other people who have also asked for something like that. It could be casual Thursdays or lunch on a Wednesday or something.
Oh, I would love lunch on a
Right?
Wednesday.
Yeah, me too.
Uh,
There are all these little things that HR are enabled to do that protect the business and protect the business from people just resigning.
and protecting the business can also mean that doing things that make the employees happier, because happy staff, happy workers
Yep.
produce better work.
That absolutely. I'm sure that everyone has done one of those employee surveys where it says, would you be positive or negative in recommending this company to your friends? Because all companies know that personal references are by far the strongest way of finding good employees and choosing good product.
Wow. I know that, and especially for those of you who follow us on TikTok and Instagram Live, I did put a title there. It's 2026 Wellness Trend. But like everything that is live, we are pivoting into a different thing. And I have so many questions, Steven. So scratch that, because you know
We'll
what?
do it next week.
Working is also part of being well. And I really just want to ask you this. Instead of asking you about cold plunges, which I can answer, while I have you here, no, he's not going anywhere. But while I have you here, do you think that when people are working and they are devoting a lot of their time, a lot of their uh, investment of themselves into a company, do you think morally, not just financially, companies should have the same? Because loyalty is a two-way street. Should they be investing in their employee more than just training? Because back in the day, when I was still, I don't know, university students, a lot of people who have entered the professional workforce, professional stage of their lives,
Yeah.
they spoke about their work and their job and their role and their projects with so much pride, to the point where I wanted to.
You wanted to work there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You hear this less and less. I go to professional meetups. I go to events, and I have to say that 70% of the conversation is about how bad things are.
Yeah. And I think that's the change that I was talking about earlier. I think that particularly in Australia, the workplace is really significantly changing. Now, a lot of people are maybe blaming COVID, um, but as you go further back into workplace history, there was a time that everyone had an office. And then we went to cubicle farms, and everyone complained about that because it was too noisy. And then
Oh, I
we
love
went
that.
to completely open plan, and everyone had to come in every day, but it was hot desking. And you had a
I
little
hate that.
trolley and said, exactly.
Yes.
Uh, so there is a continual change in Australia over workplace norms. And I think that there is an expectation that the company is doing something more for you than just paying your pay packet because you spend so much time with them. It is the thing that you spend almost more time than anything else on.
And in a lot of cases more than your partner, your family.
Yeah, that's right. Now, there are certainly workaholics, or there are, which is a very general term, but there are people who dedicate themselves to the benefit of the company, and those people are not necessarily owners. They could just be really personally invested in that company, want to see it successful, really enjoy what they're doing. Please do something that you enjoy what you're doing because you're going to be doing it for a while. But I think that workplace culture is changing a bit. I see it reflected as well in the kinds of job ads that are out there at the moment. So there are a lot of job ads that talk about, this is how much we'll pay you, or this is the payment band, or whatever. But then they also talk about number of days work from home. They talk about learning reimbursements. I've worked for a number of companies where you've had $2,000 or $3,000 that the company will pay for you to do a course or additional learning that's
And
related to
After
your
Hours platform has benefited a lot from some of that learnings because now we have newsletters. The
Yeah.
the visual of our podcast has improved so much thanks to you, Stephen.
Oh, awesome. All those LinkedIn learning marketing courses.
There you go. And I actually really like whenever I speak about our podcast, Stephen, I always say that please give it a go. I know there are thousands and tens of thousands of podcasts out there, but give it a go. Listen to one episode, even half an episode, because if I'm not doing that, even when I'm not doing this, I would be a listener because I mean now I'm basically just listening to what you were saying because I I spent a little bit of my career as an academic, and I know that it's a little bit corporate too, but a lot of you people from the corporate world say that this is not real corporate. And then I founded my company. I work for myself.
Yeah.
So it's so fascinating to hear your perspective from someone who has climbed the corporate ladder and then be in the position where you can actually affect changes, when you can make decision, and everything that you decide from your position trickle down to the
Yeah.
masses in
Yeah.
terms of the people in that company. And this is something that's always fascinating for me because how how does it work when it comes to putting together a team with different, I mean, time zones, yeah, sure, but different culture and different
Mhm.
learning pace, different way of communicating. You were
Yeah.
talking just now about Japanese engineer versus Australian engineer.
Mm.
We are talking about this very same skill set, but their approach and their
Absolutely.
behavior around that skill set is
Yeah.
probably very different.
And communication style and all of that. Look, I think that it's probably the topic for a follow-up podcast.
There you go.
But
I got
my
carried away.
short answer is leaders need to listen. Everything starts with that. And so I guess as a bit of a wrap up for our discussion here,
Yes,
leaders need to listen, but you
wi-
need to listen
to your
yourself
body.
to your body as well. And you need to take action when you see. You need to tweak things as you see fit. And
Wow, this is something that is so interesting, and I do want to apologize because it doesn't really matter. We spoke about three tiny paragraphs for about wellness trend,
I
and
didn't get to bring up the rave training. Like, yeah,
well,
just
you have 3 minutes.
red light therapy, all sorts of stuff. Let's park those, and we'll talk about them next week, I think.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I mean, this is what happens when you live record a podcast because you never know where the conversation take us. And I think, if nothing at all, the true line from the wellness trend to whatever it is that we're talking about today is that you need to go with the flow. Sometimes you can plan your meal really well, you can plan your exercise really well, but then things happen in life and you have to change, you have to adjust. The same thing with our health and wellness and well-being. On that note, I'm Dr. Vincent, and
I'm Stephen.
Thank you so much. And don't forget, if you have any questions, any comment, good, bad, neutral, drop us a message. Go to askdrvincent.com. You can send us a message there. You can go to our Instagram at askdrvincent, or you can send us an email, hello@askdrvincent.com. Fucking Cruz, I'm waiting for you. Until next time, see you in after hours.
See you later. Thank you.